Welcome to The Red Menace. We're a comedy news podcast bringing you all of the weirdest and most fun news from around Australia and increasingly the world as well, apparently. What have you been up to this week, Alison?
I've been dealing with a lot of fun with my internet not working and living like a Neanderthal as a result. So that's been my life this week.
Here's a little peek behind the curtain for the audience. We're recording this conversation over the phone. The old phone.
The telephone.
Like a telephone with a number.
The one that you must dial.
Honestly, I feel a bit uncomfortable.
I feel very uncomfortable right now.
I've been off sick from work a little bit. I've been playing a video game called Dead Cells, in which you play as a slime that's inhabiting a corpse and controlling it, which is appropriate because that's kind of how I feel.
Is that anything like Fortnite? Hit game Fortnite?
No, it's actually nothing like hit game Fortnite, but, this is definitely the next big thing, so...
For sure.
We're going to get in on that market. Do we want to do...
All the kids' YouTube Let's Players are going to be playing that one.
If someone paid me to do that, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Do you want to give us the first story tonight?
So, a few nights ago, the population clicked over to 25 million here in the land down under.
Oh, okay.
And there's been a lot of speculation about, who the 25 millionth resident is.
Has there? Okay.
Yeah, there has been. Now, I've got a news story out of the Northern Daily Leader from Tamworth.
Okay.
And it says, 1 in 25 million, Tamworth's newest residents almost claim to fame. And the starting is...
Almost. Oh, I'm liking where this is going.
Tamworth's newest resident wasn't the nation's 25th millionth citizen.
That makes them a very special person because it means they're 1 in 24 something million. And that's a very small number.
Now, this article could equally be written about either of us, because neither of us was the nation's 25th millionth citizen either.
This could be
I feel very special reading this.
This could be about my mum. It could be about my friend Eric. It could be about so many people. It could be about literally 24,999,999 people.
It could be. Now, my favourite thing about this is how far off this baby was from being the 25th millionth. Because it said, on Tuesday night, just after 11 p.m, Australia became a nation of 25 million people.
Okay.
So when do you think the baby was born?
Like 10:59?
Friday night.
Jesus Christ.
Surely there was a baby born in Tamworth Hospital after Friday night that they could have made slightly more relevant to this story.
Okay, globally, I think there's a baby born something like every 5 seconds.
Sure.
So, if we break that down into... Oh, shit, actually, now that I think about it, there's 7 billion people in the world. We're 25... I don't know how many babies are born in Australia each day, but,
I can't do the maths. That's why I'm an art student.
But I actually can't imagine it's, a huge number. So, I could see this baby being, 5th or 6th in line for the throne.
No, there was, 4 born on that day. But... My favourite is the quote from Mrs. Fraser, who was the lovely mother who gave birth to the baby.
Okay.
She says that she's going to claim the 25th millionth slot for sure. That seems like blatant lying.
That seems like fraud to me.
It's absolutely fraud.
I think she's...
They're scamming the system.
Yeah, well, I mean... what does the 25th million person get? Obviously, they get some sort of commemorative coin or, Malcolm must send them a card or something, because that's very special.
Hand-signed.
If...
He dabs his little cigar on the paper.
I mean, there must be, a Guinness World Records-esque team monitoring, at all times.
Yeah. Well, I would hope so.
For what the 25 millionth baby will be. So,
What's the point of having a baby if it's not going to win you a commemorative coin?
Exactly. So there's got to be someone monitoring this. And, well, at first I was thinking, Well, if there's like 5 or 6 of them and they don't really know, Malcolm's going to have to write like 5 or 6 letters. And I mean, I'm sure he's a busy man, so that seems like
He's
not
going
a
to have to
great
smoke a lot of cigars to get 5 or 6 stabs.
Yeah, I mean, you can't use the same cigar for each one. Malcolm's going to reveal that he's got a horrible illness next year. Just because he had to smoke a lot of cigars.
Oh, dear.
Okay, let me find
Now, I cut you off there, and I felt like you were going to say something interesting.
Oh, no, I had nothing. I was going to move on to the next story.
Now, let's move on to the next story, then.
So this is one out of the Otago Daily Times. So this is one of our New Zealand-based stories.
This is a favourite newspaper.
It is. They have way better headlines than any other newspaper on the planet.
This is going to be a repeat action.
Case in point. Smelly mutton bird blamed for fouling flight.
Sorry, a smelly mutton bird. Did I hear correctly?
Yeah, that was correct. Nailed it. A spill from an Air New Zealand passenger's hand luggage, potentially from a cold mutton bird, was so bad that the airline had to find another place to take the next scheduled flight from Dunedin.
Now, what is a mutton bird?
A mutton bird is, if you'll give me one quick moment of Googling.
I can't Google it. I've got no internet.
I'll fill in for you. So, a mutton bird is basically a little sort of pigeony looking bird.
Oh, cute.
It's the most abundant seabird species in Australian waters. For a little bit of backstory.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
So, yeah.
And it was so abundant it was on this plane.
A spill from an Air New Zealand passenger's hand luggage. Passengers were apparently told by the pilot of the domestic flight to Auckland on Friday afternoon that blood seen dripping from the overhead locker was from a mutton bird.
Why? Why was there a bird in the overhead locker?
That's a really, really good question, and at no point really does the article answer that. So
I feel like, as a reader, that's all I'm asking. I don't give a crap about the passengers changing flight. I just want to know why there was a bird in the hand luggage.
Another passenger tweeted about the delay the extra cleaning caused to her flight, which was scheduled to depart Auckland at 6 p.m. on the same plane. In the thread, tweeter Marion said a pilot explained someone had brought a mutton bird, presumably dead, onto the flight. Yeah, Marion, I think if it's got blood dripping out of it, it's probably dead.
Or a zombie.
Gee, that's terrifying.
I like the irony of someone tweeting about a dead bird.
So I'm just imagining the potential, the horror movie potential in a zombie bird. Like,
well, that's true.
Think about Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds meets 28 Days Later. Birds, I legitimately have an actual bird phobia. So
do you?
Yes. So I think I would probably legit piss myself watching this movie because it would be that scary for me. For just the idea of magpies scare the shit out of me. So a flock of ravenous zombie birds who want nothing but to eat me. I can't think of anything worse.
I can think of something worse. Eating a tomato. That's all I can say on that.
Okay.
It gives me legitimate fears about the prospect of eating a tomato or a tomato-based substance.
Do you have an allergy to tomatoes, or
no?
You just have a phobia of tomatoes? You just don't
know.
So you don't like tomatoes, is what you're saying?
I ethically disagree with tomatoes.
Okay.
I don't like tomatoes. I think it's the easiest way to put it. But don't like is too weak for the hatred I feel.
You fucking hate these tomatoes. You want to have a tomato purge.
I hate the tomatoes.
What's wrong with tomatoes, Alison? They're all
Do you know what, the biggest nightmare is? Do you know that tomato festival in Spain where they all throw tomatoes at each other? I have legitimate nightmares about that.
Why are you so scared of tomatoes? Do you just not like the taste
of them?
Why
are you scared of birds?
Because birds have sharp beaks and they fly at you and peck your eyes out.
Let's go back a little bit. Let's rewind. I believe that the bird was probably there for some kind of animal sacrifice, logically speaking.
Okay.
I'm not sure why else they'd have it. And frankly, the animal sacrifice person was probably sacrificing the animals so that the plane would have a safe passage over the seas, because that's how witchcraft works.
That's
There you
true,
go.
actually. That's a good
They
point.
should be thanked.
So if hypothetically, next time I catch a plane, I spy blood dripping from the overhead locker, instead of my natural reaction, which I think would be unadulterated panic, it should actually be like gratitude and relaxation, and just sort of
Absolutely.
sit back and relax, because it's all going to be fine.
Yeah. Unless they've sacrificed the wrong kind of animal and it's become a curse.
In which case, we are fucked.
Yeah. But in which case you might as well relax, because, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. Except for sacrifice an animal to take the curse off.
I'm going to skip ahead a teensy bit in the article and say, so there's a quote from an Air New Zealand spokesperson who I'm not going to read because it's boring, but she did not confirm the story the spill was caused by a dead bird. A southerner familiar with the mutton bird harvest said no one would transport mutton birds with blood in them, and that the liquid was most likely brine or pickle. So this is a quote. The birds are just wait.
Continue.
Just wait. It gets good. The birds are salted, which draws the blood out. The blood dissolves in the pickle. It may appear to be blood, but it's not. So what this person's saying is that this isn't blood. This is just the fucking pickle and blood juice that's been drawn out of this bird. It's got blood in it. It's still blood, though.
That's just so much better, knowing that the blood's been pickled. I just feel so much better about this whole story.
Pickled mutton bird blood dripping
Now I know what the problem
was.
was. I feel disgusted.
I feel
more disgusted about the pickle juice than the blood.
I can't think of a worse smelling thing just off the top of my head than that.
Pickle juice and blood just milling around the plane. Just what you want.
Oh my gosh. You got another story?
So we've been talking a lot about grand heists, and I think I found the best heist of the year, potentially.
Okay. Really?
And this is from the Daily Examiner, which, hang on, let me try and find where this is from, because I can't check it. Oh, I think it's from, like, Grafton.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I can't click the link, otherwise I will lose the article, because I'm not connected to the internet.
No, I get you. That's okay.
I believe it's Grafton. Okay, here's the headline. Police investigate theft of cattle worth $750,000.
Ooh.
Yeah. Rural crime investigators have made an appeal for information from the public in relation to the theft of more than 500 head of cattle, worth an estimated $750,000. Now, I like the guts of these people stealing 500 cows.
How do you
achieve that?
Yeah. Like,
It's
even one cow is a big heist. 500.
It's quite heavy.
Yeah, and it's
500 cows.
They have a very distinctive sound as well. Like, that's not...
How do you do this? How long will it take the police to investigate such a crime? Like, surely it won't be that hard to find 500 cows.
The sheer amount of noise 500 cows would make alone, they should just, like, stand in the middle of the town square and listen, and they'll find it.
It'll be like,
How is... You'd need, like, a freight boat, like a freight ship to fit 500 cows on, and you'd need, like, 20 trucks. Like, I don't understand how it's physically possible.
yeah, look, it's the story isn't that detailed, but it says that, well, it's saying that the crime was committed, talking about the earmark inside the cows, and it says, the Rural Crime Prevention Team strongly urges anyone who may have information to come forward. Surely there's someone out there with information about this.
They're going to get a text that says, yeah, I got information, I got 500 cows, what are you going to do about it?
Now, this is becoming a true crime podcast because I'd like anyone in the audience who have seen 500 cows in a field, which do not belong in that field, to give the Rural Crime Prevention Team some information on this, because surely someone has seen 500 cows that don't belong there.
if anyone in the audience has stolen 500 cows, can you just send me like just sort of tweet at me like a selfie of you and the 500 cows? Because, and also just like send me some tips, because this sounds like a great money-making exercise.
Sell your movie rights.
Yeah.
I want to see the film about this.
Exactly. We'll produce. I don't know if either of us could direct it, but I'm sure there's like a good movie in there. So there's one unfortunate question, which is it's probably a lot easier to transport the cows if they're no longer alive.
Well, you know, like how aliens have a tendency to beam cows up and put them into strange places.
Shit. I hadn't thought about that. That's a very good point.
There's like all these like alien stories. There's always cows involved somehow. And I feel like this could potentially be paranormal.
Yeah, I actually, okay. You know the Sherlock Holmes thing, if you eliminate the impossible, then the improbable must be true. I think it's fucking impossible that a human being did this. Because
for sure.
It's 500 cows. It's physically impossible to steal that. So, potential explanations. Yeah, exactly. Potential explanations. Aliens, very good start.
Mm-hmm. The cows became intelligent and rose up and made their own way out. They weren't stolen. They just...
Yeah, maybe they dug down and now they live in like underground caverns or something.
Sure, absolutely.
They could have spontaneously just entered another dimension. Like they just had cows. Cows have discovered... Maybe there's something about like the purity of the mind of a cow that we're just so stuck in all of our like human bullshit, but the cow... They all just entered like this other plane of awareness, and they were like, "Oh,
they can transcend to the next plane."
Then they just popped out of existence because they had transcended it.
I like that idea
because
I wish I could.
No human being did this. It's impossible.
You could start a cult with that, like tell people how to have the mind of a cow so that they can transcend in and out of our universe.
I'm usually pretty skeptical about this sort of stuff, but I legitimately can't fathom how this could not be a paranormal thing. Like, my God.
I don't know. Personally, I don't think I'd have the guts nor the skills to steal 500 cows.
Nor the fleet of trucks. Like...
All of the SUVs from last week have come in to pick up cows and take them to Parliament House.
Could this be an insurance scam that's gotten a little bit out of hand?
I mean, yeah, probably.
I like
maybe
the idea of this like farmer couple being like, so we're going to say we lost cow. Well, I mean, okay, how much is a cow worth? If we say we lost 500 cows, like we can get a lot for that. And then the police came to them and they were like, how many cows did you lose? And they're like, 500. And the police were like, wait, what?
Chuck some maths down for me. $750,000 is the value of these cows, divided by 500.
Let me get my calculator up.
I'm going to open up my calculator app without closing this phone call somehow.
I believe in you.
All right, I've got it. I've got my calculator open.
Thank God, mine is my...
I like how neither of us can do this maths in our head. We're both grossly... It's $1,500 per cow.
That's less than I would have expected, not going to lie.
That's devaluing your cows a little bit.
I can see why you would do 500 of them then, because like if you're like 10 cows, like for an insurance scam, like 15 grand, I feel like you want more than that.
No, if you're going to go to all that effort, you definitely want more than that. For sure.
No human being did this. Like, I'm stumped.
Well, there are just some mysteries that are never meant to be solved.
On the topic of farm adjacent stuff, can I throw another story out?
Absolutely.
So I found this one in the Flinders News, but it's been syndicated fairly widely. This is an opinion piece by one Father Brendan Lee. The headline is, "Forget the myths and thank a farmer today." So, here's the opening sentence. "We know what people claim is the oldest profession in the world. But the actual oldest profession in the world is clearly farming. Unless we came from the primordial soup crawling out of the ocean, In which case, the oldest profession in the world is fishing.
Sure.
This is a stand-up comedy piece disguised as a piece of journalism.
Now, personally, I was under the impression that for something to be a profession, there needs to be some kind of money exchanged.
You would think that...
Did the, like, little, first thing that climbed out of the primordial water, did it exchange money for the food that it was getting from the ocean? Perhaps. Well, I wasn't there.
This thing that he's saying doesn't actually make sense, too. Because unless we came from the primordial soup crawling out of the ocean, in which case the oldest profession of the world is fishing, he doesn't know what fishing is. He thinks fishing is climbing out of the water.
I've been fishing way more than I thought then.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's interesting that most of Jesus' parables were about either farmers or fishermen. Why?
Oh, gosh. This is getting biblical.
Maybe they're the only two professions that will last until the end of the world.
Mm.
If Jesus had told a contemporary parable about a cognitionibus, a chancellor, but a specialized chancellor from only one of 4 offices that exclusively advised an emperor, I don't think we would fully appreciate the subtleties.
I just am incredibly bored by what this man has to say.
What the fuck is he talking about?
I don't know. He's talking about getting a little biblical here, talking about evolution. What's the point?
For better or worse, these occupations didn't survive into our modern world, but farming did. They didn't because you Googled jobs and went to page 1,000.
Well, that's true.
You see these sci-fi movies set in the future, where our only food will be vitamin tablets. But only a pill would believe that nonsense. We will always need farmers until the end of the world. Actually...
What? What a wild concept. Vitamin tablets? Gosh, crazy.
Actually, I'm musing the end of the world will be when there are no more farmers.
Deep.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh.
I hope he's doing this as a way to kind of like raise awareness about the current situation of drought and not just as a way to write a really pointless article. Surely there's a point to it at the end.
I think it's 50-50. Having lived exactly half my life in the city and half in the country, I'd like to dispel the biggest myths I've found among some city slickers. Namely...
Oh, God, did he use the word city slickers?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Namely, that country farmers are rich and unintelligent. I know, but just try and keep the expletives under your breath. The misinformed view of farmers being rich is based on farmers' large amounts of property, large equipment, and government assistance. I'd like to leave the government assistance debate for another column. Then why did you bring it up? Some city people don't realize land is massively cheaper in the country. I'm pretty sure city people fucking realize that.
It's just pretentious.
The second city slickers myth is that farmers are unintelligent. Literally nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing.
I've seen the show Farmer Wants a Wife. I know a thing or two about farmers. And what I know is that they want a wife.
It's not inaccurate.
Exactly. You couldn't make a whole TV show if a farmer did not want a wife.
What's fun about this is that this guy's whole concept for a TV show is farmers are smarter than city slickers think they are. Which, I don't know if city slickers think that farmers are not smart. I don't know. This person has a hefty chip out of his shoulder.
Yeah, look, I believe that this guy probably thinks that farmers are not smart and he's trying to, smooth over something.
It was the great inventor Thomas Edison. He was a failed mushroom farmer, by the way, who said, all progress, all success.
Wait, what kind of mushrooms was he farming?
That's an excellent question. He was a failed one, so I think we can all assume. All progress, all success springs from thinking. Stone the crows! I can't think of many professions which demand someone to think on their feet and be such a jack of all trades more than farming. In almost all professions, including mine, there are rulebooks that tell you exactly what to do and not to do for all occasions. Not so with farming. What do you do when one morning's frost destroys your entire crop? What happens when a fox breaks the shoelace on the...
What happens when someone steals 500 cows from you?
Okay, my joke was going to be that if I Googled guide to farming, there would be a guide to farming, but I am 100% sure that there is not. That website does not exist because, again, and I cannot stress this enough, it's physically fucking impossible.
All the rest of those things you can find in a guide. Someone stealing 500 cows, you cannot. It's just not there.
It's unfathomable. How... I've completely... Fuck this article. I'm going back to the cows thing. Like...
This guy's too salty. I just don't know what his point is.
No, well...
At least...
His point in the end, basically, is that people should be more grateful to farmers. Which, like, yeah, true. We should be more grateful to just about fucking everybody. A good way to be grateful would not to steal all their cows.
No. And that's how I'm grateful to farmers. I don't go out and steal 500 cows from them.
Because, Alison,
but if you know how to steal 500 cows...
Because you can't do it, because it's impossible.
I don't have the skills, nor the technology.
Do you mind if I actually throw in another story that I think you will enjoy?
No, go ahead.
So, this is actually our first ever listener-submitted story. So this is another one from New Zealand. And at first I was curious, but it then expanded into a vast conspiracy. So...
Interesting.
This is from stuff.co.nz.
Mm-hmm.
Long-living captive Kia loved the pub, but was easily distracted by stockings. Mm-hmm. So the story is Joe the Kia. So a Kia is a kind of bird. Looks kind of like a very small toucan, but not colourful. Or like a brown kookaburra or parrot. I don't know. I'm not a bird expert.
I can get behind that kind of bird.
Literally terrified of birds. So...
Well, it's not covered in blood and pickle juice, so I'm already liking this bird better than the other one.
Exactly. Joe the Kia liked his Coke on the rocks, enjoyed steak and raw egg for breakfast, and had a penchant for ripping women's stockings right off their legs. This was a fucking dirty bird.
What?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
That last bit was an ad-lib by me, but that is what he was one
Oh dear.
He was one of the country's longest-living captive Kia and spent virtually all of his 45 years at Takaka's Junction Hotel in Golden Bay, where his proud owner poured the drinks for nearly 50 years. Mm-hmm. So this bird...
So someone's trained the bird to strip stockings off women's legs.
Well, okay. Joe didn't have a taste for beer, but loved a Coke with ice and keeping an eye on the punters. So this is a quote.
Mm-hmm.
He had a penchant for ladies with nylon stockings. He'd run his beak down them and watch them tear. You certainly couldn't leave your boots around him, and he tore up a diving suit on the washing line once. Occasionally, Joe would visit other nearby businesses, once ripping the tiles off the roof of a building, she said. After falling ill, he even managed to nab a spot in the Drummond's bed so she could nurse him. This is a fucking skeezy terrorist of a bird. Like, what...
A sex-offending, property-destroying drunkard of a bird.
Yeah, so, look, I'm not that broken up that this bird has passed.
No. Frankly, it deserved to go.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. This
isn't the interesting part yet, I'm sorry.
The listener has alerted me to the fact that this is the third high-profile bird death in New Zealand this year.
Oh.
Here is another one. Memorial for free-loving, iconic LGBT goose.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So this article has not imported into Instapaper correctly. Okay. But basically, Thomas was a beloved bisexual goose who spent years in a love triangle with two swans. And Thomas also passed away. And then Nigel, the lonely gannet, also has recently passed away. Another celebrity bird has died in New Zealand.
Oh my gosh.
There's a celebrity bird serial killer in New Zealand who's...
It's all connected. It comes back to that first story you read. Someone is stealing celebrity birds and pickling them.
Holy shit. Alison! Oh my god.
Oh, I've solved the crime.
Fuck, should we be talking about this on the podcast? We need to talk to the police. This is not...
we need to...
All right, yeah, this is a true crime podcast now. Fuck
It's
news.
officially a true crime podcast.
So...
That's where the dollary dues are at.
So do we think this was Joe the Kia? Like, which bird do we think was dripping all over this plane? Maybe that's why the flight attendant or the pilot or whomever, the Air New Zealand person, wouldn't say that it was a dead bird because they can't tell them because
they're in on it.
They're in on it. Okay.
Jeez.
Okay, wait. It's coming together. Air New Zealand, sky, flying, planes.
Bird. Fly.
They are scared of birds flying up. Okay. So, we need to find out whether Air New Zealand has hit any birds with their planes in the last year or so. Because I think
I'm going to Google Air New Zealand bird strike on my phone.
Yeah.
Because that's the only device I have that's connected to the internet.
Because I think this is like a PR hit job against birds as a species. I think they're killing these birds to sort of absolve themselves of the responsibility of having hit all these birds with their planes.
I found a bird strike story.
Okay.
About Air New Zealand. This is from 2015 though. So it says Air New Zealand plane cleared to fly after bird strike. An Air New Zealand aircraft that suffered engine failure after being hit by a bird has been released to fly.
It's all a revenge ploy.
It's coming together.
They're fucking... Oh my God. They've murdered these 3 birds and have smuggled them blood dripping through their... they've got a built-in body transportation service in their planes. They've just done a shitty job at it because they've pickled the birds and let them leak out into the planes.
Now I want to know, have there been any more high-profile bird deaths around the world in places related to Air New Zealand?
Let's find out.
Because it's definitely related to this. Unfortunately...
bird...
Oh, wait.
Death.
More recently, from stuff.co.nz. Bird strike causes 2-hour delay, change of planes.
They're putting out a media hit on birds. Chinese celebrity bird, Flappy McFlapperson, believed dead. Birds are dropping off Australia's...
Air New Zealand fly to China?
It's an Sydney Morning Herald story. Birds are dropping dead off Australia's coast and it's all our fault. I'm not going to read that, so I'm just going to assume they mean Air New Zealand.
So tell me about the dates of those bird deaths, because this latest bird strike that caused a 2-hour delay was July 17th of this year.
This year?
That's recent.
Okay, so this is... No, these were from May, I'm sorry. I don't... 4 days ago, New York Post. Baby hawk sired by infamous love triangle bird dies.
What?
Baby hawk sired by infamous love triangle bird dies. New York Post. Wait up, I'm going to read this. I feel like there's some good stuff in here.
Now, this is a completely different bird story that I haven't brought up, but it's one that I remember reading about on a Brazilian beach. I don't know if it was Brazil, but somewhere they were playing beach volleyball and they trampled a bunch of bird eggs, which is quite a sad thing. But it could be connected.
I think so. Obviously all of this is connected. Air New Zealand is at the heart of it. Because
it's Air New Zealand.
They can't have any more delays, so they're going to kill all the birds. And
oh, there you go. It says, beach volleyball players in Alabama accidentally kill hundreds of birds.
Accidentally?
It doesn't say that they weren't from New Zealand, though, so that's...
Yeah, accidentally, I'm sure.
Accidentally.
You know what?
Gosh.
Now that I think about this, given my opinion of birds, I might kind of be okay with this, and maybe...
Excuse me, is that okay to say? Is that okay to say in a public forum that you're okay with all these high-profile bird deaths? Are you standing behind Air New Zealand's actions on this?
No, I just think I'm gonna try and be non-judgmental, and I'm gonna wait to hear Air New Zealand's side of the story for why they've murdered millions of birds.
You're gonna put out a questionnaire out there,
exactly.
Get their side of the story.
Exactly. All right.
Now, I don't think we should be negotiating with terrorists.
Yeah, that's true. But if the birds are attacking planes, doesn't that make them the terrorists as well? Jesus, this is such a morally grey situation, Alison. What have we waded into? This is not good.
I'd like to thank the listener who sent this in, because they've started a new genre of podcast for us, and we're completely...
the podcast talking about this.
I'm completely changing the angle of this podcast to just be investigating suspicious bird deaths.
Oh my gosh. I think that's probably a good place to leave it, to be honest. I don't see how we're going to top this gigantic bird conspiracy.
Yeah, and we've got to leave our listeners thinking about this because it's a deep one and it probably goes far deeper than we've only scratched the surface, really.
Yeah, we will be returning next week for our 5th episode and at the same time, the 2nd episode of our true crime podcast, Falling from the Skies. So,
oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So, listeners, I hope you enjoyed what you got from this. If you liked our half comedy news, half true crime bird murder podcast, please, subscribe. If you could give us a review on iTunes, that would actually be super helpful. That would help push us up the iTunes rankings and make us more popular, and then we can get that good Apple money.
And then we can take down Air New Zealand.
Then we can take down Air New Zealand.
Not literally.
No, not literally, Alison.
Don't.
Jesus.
Don't think we're defaming Air New Zealand. I'm sure it's a lovely company aside from the bird murders.
This is all satire. Parody, free use. Yeah, so if anybody else wants to send in any stories to prompt this kind of just wonderful radio experience, please send them through to redmenacecast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram to get all the latest up-to-date content about the show.
Absolutely.
And, chat with our millions of fans that we definitely have.
Yeah, my mum's a good listener. Shout out to her.
She counts for 1 million.
She counts for 1 million.
All right.
She's going to give me so many brownie points for saying that.
Okay, I've got...
I was going to say, I've got a headline to leave you with.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, do it, please. I'm Chris Bolson.
And I'm Alison Hoare. And here's a headline for you. Man who stuffed chicken schnitzels down pants is now jailed until 2020.
Good. Fuck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. And good luck.
Bye.